There are shows with psychics.
And there are shows with doctors.
But there's no show like The Psychic and the Doc.
Your practical paranormal power unleashed.
This show synthesizes the talents of world-class medium Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, psychic explorer,
and street smart spiritualist, behavioral psychologist, Dr. Pat Baccili. All subjects are on the table and no topic is taboo. Inspiration, insight,
action, and fun as Mark Anthony connects callers with loved ones in spirit.
In tandem with Dr. Pat's fresh, no-nonsense, street smart, intuitive insights. And she is hilarious.
Extraordinary problems
require extraordinary solutions, which may come from this side
or the other side. This is The Psychic
and the Doc, and it starts now. Well, ho, ho, ho. What do you know, everyone? This is The Psychic and the Doc, and the title of tonight's show, the theme of tonight's show is, Do You Believe in Santa? And the reason we chose that is because tonight is the eve of Nikolaus, which is the feast of St. Nicholas. And for all of our listeners in Europe, we know all the kids are putting their shoes out tonight because tomorrow morning they're going to be filled with chocolate and little goodies, because of St. Nicholas. And I wanted to bring up one other thing. We've got a lot going on in the metaphysical and astronomical sense. Not only SpaceX has had 2 launches this week, but this weekend on December 7th, Jupiter will be at its brightest point this year because the orbits of Earth and Jupiter are the closest to each other that they've been in quite some time. And here's the best part. This is not one of those astrological phenomena that you have to get up at 4 a.m. to see. It's going to be visible all night long. So when you go out this weekend and you look up in the sky and see this really big bright star, that's Jupiter, the king of planets. And I know that for all of our astrology fans and listeners out there that this is very significant. And I'm Mark Anthony, JD, Psychic Explorer, and I'm here with my esteemed and amazing co-host, Dr. Pat Baccili. It's such an honor working with Dr. Pat. She's my Christmas gift. Getting to work with her, the founder of the Transformation Network, the host of the long-time and still running Dr. Pat show on every day, and my co-host here on The Psychic and the Doc. So, Dr. Pat, what do you say about, do you believe in Santa?
Yeah, there's no question about it. Thank you, Mark, for that great opening. And thank you for including astrology, because the month of December this month has a number of things going on. By the way, Christmas Eve this month, which according to the Christian calendar is December 24th.
Right.
And it's a fascinating week. And it's also a week we're planning our launch. Now, I'm going to have to really watch this date to see if I actually do it then, because there's this push and pull energy that's going to happen. And it's phenomenal, right? It's expansion and contraction when Jupiter, my ruling planet for Sagittarius, in Gemini slams into Saturn in Pisces. Now, why is that a thing? Y'all know Saturn. I mean, we've seen pictures. Remember that picture by that great, oh my gosh, now I'm blinking. One of my favorite, really gory, really almost like Louvre type paintings is Saturn eating its children.
Yeah.
Do you remember that painting? Who the heck? Brocky, look that up. And I remember going to see that, going downtown when I lived in New York. I grew up as a kid in New York. So going down to the art, right? Smithsonian, whatever. I remember seeing that picture and I was like, oh, I love that. And I'm with a group of kids and the teacher, and I'm like, I don't want to leave. Can I look? Teacher's like, is something wrong with you? You like that picture? I said, oh, yeah. Look at that, eating all the little babies. That was one of those times I didn't get sent to therapy, but it was one of the few times where I've actually said what I thought and didn't get sent to therapy to Dr. Jacoby on that one. But it's a holiday season. So, Mark, here's my question for you. And Nat has got some cool images he's putting up here. Nat is our producer for the show. But what did you do differently this year? I got to ask you this question because I found myself doing different things to celebrate the holiday this year that I've never done before.
What am I doing differently? Um, you know, every Christmas there's certain thing, or every holiday season there's things that are very similar, but there's things that are different as well. What I'm doing differently is I'm spending even more time with my family members, with my
Yeah.
siblings, my niece. I had a great conversation on the phone yesterday with my nephew, and I'm hoping that he and his kids will be able to make it because we have a whole new crop of little kids in the family now. We got three little girls and a little boy. And let me tell you, that made Christmas very different. And let me tell you why, Dr. Pat. I keep seeing posts on social media, and I felt this myself. It says when the glue of the family is gone, the holidays are never the same. And I saw that and I wrote, well, then form new glue. And that's what we're doing. Ever since my
Yeah.
mom passed, the holidays aren't the same. But you can't sit there and wallow in, oh, it's not the same. No, it isn't. But we're here now. So
Yeah.
create your own traditions. Use some of the ones from your family, your traditions. Create your own, but don't sit around living in the past because the past is the past. We're here now, and so what I'm doing differently this holiday season is realizing instead of saying, "Oh, we have time, we'll get to it, we'll get together." No, now is the time. We may not have that time, but we have now. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing differently.
I love that we're sharing that. I found myself really kind of in between things for this holiday. But you asked the question, do I believe in Santa? As a kid from a very early age, there was nothing that you could change about that for me. I didn't care if I, like caught dad putting stuff under the tree, but it didn't change my feeling around the holiday. And I did a show the other day interviewing the Salvation Army people,
Oh, cool.
and I shared a story with them, and it was one of the positive notes experience with my dad growing up. I don't have a lot of them, but this was one. And we'd always go down to Manhattan. We go to Rockefeller Center, and the Salvation Army was always there. Can you with the red bell, right?
Right.
Y'all familiar with the red, and they've got the bells, and they're going like they've got
Yeah.
the red kettle, and they're going like this, and they're so. I shared this story the other day. My dad never told me why he had a draw to them, so they must have helped him out in his life at some point. But he would give me $1, and I couldn't wait. He would give me the dollar for my birthday, the 11th, so that I could take it down and put it in the kettle. And I did that year after year after year after year. And one year
Nice.
he got me my own bell. Like they do the
Oh,
bell.
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so can you imagine me as this little kid, like, I don't know, 8, 9, and I'm all dressed up and we're going to Rockefeller Center. I hated ice skating there, so that was always a nightmare for me. But here I go, and I'm going up, and I got my bell, and I'm able to stand up with them and ring the bell, and I put my dollar in. Little did I know that when I was homeless, they would help me. Little did I
Wow.
know
Wow.
that at age 17, in that same Manhattan, those people would help me.
Well, it's said through karma. Jesus spoke about this as well. Is like the good that you do comes back to you. And also there's a double-edged sword to that. The negative things that we do come back to you. That's why I always stress to people, be nice, try to be nice, do the best that you can. And the theme of tonight's show is, do you believe in Santa? And the real Santa, his name was Nicholas, and he lived in what is now Turkey in the 4th century. And he was a Greek speaking man who, this is during the Roman Empire, and he was born into a very wealthy family. And he had some type of epitome where he gave up his wealth and join the clergy. And Christianity at the time was being oppressed. And from what we know, he spent time in prison because the Roman Emperor Diocletian at the time was oppressing Christians. So he was in prison because of his Christian beliefs. After Diocletian, then Constantine, the so-called first Christian emperor, and Constantine released all the, ordered throughout the empire Christians be released. Now, did Santa come down the chimney? And that's in all the stories. I mean, you look at everything from, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, where, little Cindy Lou Who, why, Santa Claus, why are you taking our tree? Why, my dear, and all that. And The Night Before Christmas. But where that story, it is believed, according to legend, has its origins, there was a poor family, and the husband and wife, they had 3 daughters. And they were so poor that they could not afford dowries for their daughters, nor could they afford to keep them. And they were faced with the painful decision of selling them into slavery. And so they were going to sell their daughters into slavery. And Nicholas, who was by this time a priest and moving up, heard about this. So he crept up to their house at night and with 3 bags of gold, and he threw it through the window. And supposedly the bags of gold, they hit the mantle of their fireplace, and the gold coins fell all over the stockings that they had laying by the fire to dry them. And then in the morning, the parents wake up and they realize they didn't have to sell their daughters into slavery. And that's where hanging your stockings, the stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in the hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. That's where this comes from. And so over the centuries, it got turned into, St. Nicholas in the Dutch language is Sinterklausen. And then when the Dutch colonists came to America, 1,000 plus years later, it got, converted into modern day English as Santa Claus. So that's where so Santa did come down the chimney, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, but don't we want to hold on to that, whether we know it's true or not? See, this is what I love about this. Now, I want to just tell everybody this is a live call-in show today, so please feel free to call in for a reading. We're getting ready to do our holiday readings for all of you starting this week. 1-800-930-2819. I do believe Jessica or somebody's out there answering the phones. And Rocky, thank you. That Saturn devouring his son painting is Francis Goya. But I got into, I'm not sure what I'm doing for Christmas. I know I'm not traveling, but I have hopes Linda will come. I'm hoping that Jessica's really bugging her to come for work reasons. But I did something I haven't done. Mark, I tried to think how long ago I did this. And the best I could tell, as far back as I could go, was about 1989. The last time that I can remember decorating my house outside for Christmas. Now, inside, different. So what did I buy? So I go get my lights and they're up here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn my camera around. I may be able to do it for the break. But you know how people buy those inflatables in their front yard? Okay.
Yeah, those are cool. Yeah.
They're cool. But I didn't like most of them. And then I found the one. Santa on a 4-wheeler SUV, high up, big fat black tires with the tree. And I got this blow up thing blowing up. My neighbors are just like, oh my God, we have never seen that one. See, I don't just want to blow up tree or blow up snowman. It was going to be Santa in the 4-wheel SUV, or the other one was Santa in an airplane. And I thought, that's how Santa would travel. Santa wouldn't travel in no sleigh. He'd get himself one of these 4. And the thing is out here blowing up now. And so this is the year for me to do things differently. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because when you're getting into December this year, there's going to be a couple of really important dates. December 15th is one of them.
Yeah.
And that date, when we go into that full moon, just for all you out there who are thinking about like this, When you go into December 15th this year at 4:01 a.m., not the show time, what's going to happen is this moon, this Gemini full moon, is for all of us to release disempowering thinking patterns and communication habits. That is the day to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is the day. It is a new awareness of communication dynamics, new awareness of patterns and beliefs. But the moon is what they call really widely conjunct with Jupiter and both the sun and the moon, right? So they
Yes.
have this strange thing going on. The bottom line to all of that fancy astrology language is that full moon peaks. And then what happens, it stations directly in Sagittarius. And why is this important? Sagittarius and Jupiter are these two things that come together that are all about expansion, and you can't expand if you're holding on to limited beliefs. And a limited belief may be, I don't really believe in Santa Claus.
Well, believing in Santa Claus as an actual person that flies around the world and comes down, it's the spirit. It's the goodness, the compassion, the respect and joy of children, the essence of gift giving. It's everything that's good and decent and wonderful. It's a child's delight in thinking that the world is a magical and wonderful place. And for most children, and not all, because there's a lot of children around the world that are going through horrific things right now.
Really horrible.
Horrible things. But in an ideal sense, there's a very limited period of time in our lives when there is that magic. And Santa Claus embodies all of that. And a lot of people have thought, and you're a psychologist, so let me ask you, do you think teaching children that this mythical being, that Santa exists, basically parents are lying to their children, making up this mythology, and then they come to the realization. Do you think, as a psychologist, that does any harm? Is that a negative thing or a positive thing? What is your take on that, Dr. Pat?
Well, I'll tell you what my take is on it. If that were really true, then we'd take every children's book away from them. We would just burn them all, because there's a part of what we do that allows us to expand. And I didn't grow up with reading children's book. I didn't have that. I didn't have that childhood at all. Are you kidding? But when I got older, I went back and I read them. Velveteen Rabbit, I went back and I read them. I was way older when I did that. But I basically couldn't read and write anyway. So reading them books weren't going to matter. But what is it about them, though? So instead of that, what do you think I do? Comic books.
Yeah.
See, comic books, because that's me. Take me to wherever you're going. I'm getting that comic book. See, that was anytime they wanted to shut me up or leave me alone, they bought me comic books, and all superhero comic books. I remember one time they got me that one with the Veronica in it, and I'm like, what is this comic?
Oh, the Archies.
Archies. I'm like, oh my God. Like, so get this out of here. But what does that do, though, Mark? You see, how else will we get to explore the unseen? Santa Claus, and there are other spiritual practices, especially in the Jewish tradition. I mean, oh my gosh, I remember my first, Seder? I can't remember which one, but I remembered that energy of sitting around a very large table, and nobody told me, don't drink all the wine, right? A lot of blessings, drink the wine. But see, these traditions we have are to remember the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what they're here to remember. But how else would we develop an extraordinary imagination? Can you imagine what would have happened to a Spielberg if he didn't have things to imagine?
Oh, precisely. And see, I've never felt there's anything wrong with imagination. I mean, I'm a writer, and I write, most of what I write is nonfiction, but I do write for Best Holistic Life magazine, and I have written and do write short stories, and you have to have that imagination. And so that, as a child, it starts to cultivate not only your imagination, but your creativity. Also, Santa, like I said, embodies what we all should be like. If the whole world were full of, that type of giving and compassion and love and concern, the world truly would be a better place. So, in many ways, Santa gives us hope. I know that we have a caller, and I know we're going to be going to callers, but I want to ask the callers too, and I'm going to ask you this too, Dr. Pat.
Yeah.
In pop culture and movies, who is your favorite Santa Claus? What actor or what movie was your favorite Santa?
Can I think about that until we come back from break?
Yes, you can. And so let's go to a break. And this is the Psychic and the Doc. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. And we do have a caller on the line. So, caller, stay right where you are. We're going to be with you in just a minute. All right, everybody. Ho, ho, ho. We got to go, but we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Psychic and the Doc here on the Transformation Network. I'm Mark Anthony, JD, Psychic Explorer, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Pat Baccili. And this is the Psychic and the Doc. Tonight, we're on the clock, and we're talking about, do you believe in Santa? But we're going to the phones. Dr. Pat, what do you say?
Let's do it. But wait, when you first asked the question, our favorite Santas. It's the movie Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah.
And the movie, I mean, you can go through the different actors that played. I guess Edmund Gwenn played Kris Kringle. But the one I remember is, I do remember him because I was very young. We used to watch those old films, but I don't think anybody did it better than Attenborough. I just
Sir Richard Attenborough did such a great Santa Claus. Well, because he had that English, that distinguished and the big heart. Richard Attenborough is kind of like the grandfather everybody wishes they had, and that's kind of what Santa is too.
Exactly. So on this note, one of the weirdest Halloween costumes, I gotta just say it. Weirdest and so interesting costumes I had ever seen, and of course in Seattle, was somebody dressing up as Santa with the Friday the 13th mask.
Oh my God.
That had to be,
that's sacrilegious.
I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing. With the beard was under the mask and he's got the Friday the 13th mask on. And, I couldn't take my eyes off this person,
it's like Chainsaw Santa, he'll slay you.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's terrible.
But this is what happened when you hang out on Halloween in Seattle. Nat, who do we have?
All right. And first off, I wanted to just throw out J.K. Simmons in Red One. He's came out. Great Santa. But first we have Teresa from New Jersey.
Thank you. I got to see that one. Teresa, welcome to our beginning of our holiday shows. How are you? How can we help you today?
I'm doing well. I've actually called a couple of times before.
Did you get in?
And I wanted to thank you both so much for your insights and everything.
Welcome.
It's just been wonderful. I'm cancer-free.
Yay! The best present of all is good health.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your insights and everything that every time I call, I just feel like you guys are just amazing.
Thank
you, Teresa.
Just wanted to call and thank you for that.
Well, do you want to see if Mark has a message for you?
Oh, absolutely, Mark.
All right, Teresa, let me open up the frequency and see who's coming through. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Okay, you got an entourage showing up. Oh, there first was a woman, but now an older gentleman stepped forward. Now, this gentleman, he was elderly when he passed. And by elderly, he could have been easily in his 80s, working on 90. And the reason I say that is because the way I see his throat, you know how when people get really, really old and you start seeing like the tendons in their throat, and I get kind of a thin appearance with him prior to passing. And I get that this was a very intelligent man, but just prior to passing, I'm getting this, I don't like to say like a sedated feeling. So he must have been under some type of medical supervision prior to passing. It could be a hospice, or it could have been something, some other type of medical supervision. And I get the sense from him that he knew that he was going, he knew that time was coming to a close, and he was okay with it. And then I'm getting this sharp pain in my head. It's like this bam, this pounding sensation. So that could be an indicator that when he did go, it was rather abrupt, or it could be like an aneurysm or a stroke. So I get that surge of blood pressure into my head. And he keeps making me taste peppermint. Now, when I get peppermint, that's an indicator for the month of December because of candy canes and all that. And obviously, we're in December now. Peppermint can also mean a variant on the name Pat, Patrick, or Patricia, unless there's something specific about peppermint that would resonate with you in any way, Teresa. And it doesn't have to relate to the spirit. It could relate to you in some way. Is there anything with all
Yes,
any
it
of that?
does.
Great, go right ahead. Go
Starbucks.
right ahead.
Starbucks.
Oh, did you get the peppermint latte?
Yeah. Well, the mocha and the pike because I can't handle espresso.
Okay, well,
But
that
yeah,
will work.
almost every day.
Does this guy
Yeah.
sound like he could be from your mother's side of the family, like your maternal grandfather, possibly?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the
Yes.
reason being
I've been
is-
wondering about him. I've been thinking about him all the time. I've been wondering about him.
Okay, yeah, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting is maternal grandfather, and because you've been wondering about him, you're sending these beacons out into the cosmos. So he picked up on that, and here he comes, and he keeps handing
Yeah.
you movie tickets, movie tickets, movie tickets. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Because
All right. What's up?
he looked like.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. He looks like Cary Grant.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. So he looked like
Or
a
was it
movie
Cary
star.
Grant? It was a movie star. He looked. In fact, he did a contest and he won. But I don't think it was Cary Grant. It was a different one. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but I know
Could it-
he was in a
could it-
contest and he won.
You know, who's the guy that played Rhett Butler? Who was he? Dr. Pat. God, I
Clark
can't.
Gable.
Clark Gable. Because
Wow, did I even remember that?
I know
Whoa,
I'm sitting here. And I can. I
oh
can
my
see,
God! I can
I'm
see
seeing,
little mustache and stuff.
Yeah, I'm
right?
seeing Rhett Butler
Oh,
and Scarlett
my
O'Hara.
God.
All right, Clark
Oh.
Gable. So he had those type of looks. Let's see what message
Yeah.
he has
Yeah.
for you. He said, "Slow down, lady. Slow down." Now, by the slow down, unless you drive really fast, I don't think he's talking about driving. I think he's talking about you in general. It's like when he focuses on you, Teresa, I feel like there's so much energy. It's like when you're driving a motorcycle, and Dr. Pat, I know you understand this, and it's like almost too powerful for you to handle because you're not used to that amount of power.
Yeah.
And something's going on with you, Teresa, where you've got so much energy or so many demands on you and your time and your energy right now. And it's like you're running, running, running. You know when you run real, real hard and then you start getting a pain in your side because you're just running out of juice?
Yes, yes.
In many ways, you're at that point. So he is telling you, slow down. He says, you keep thinking you're not going to get anything done, but you will. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I just want to tell you real quick. I have been seeing spirit. I guess not spirit, but different things that have been happening, like messages. And he was actually. I wanted to know if he was one. Was seeing these messages too, because it's overwhelming what I'm seeing from my sister. You know what I mean? Like it's just. She passed, so and it's just the spirit is there, and it's overwhelming to the point where it's too much. Like that's how I feel. So maybe that's
slow
what he's
down.
saying,
Yeah.
to slow down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dr. Pat, what's your take?
So here's what I would
Thank you,
recommend
Mark.
you do. I recommend you take a class, course. That's not the right language, but work with somebody that knows how to help you create some boundaries.
Yeah,
Like Mark doesn't walk around talking to people all the time. You know what I mean?
right.
So there are things you can learn. I'm not an expert in this, Mark Moore is, but so long as there's no harm to you, do you ask them what they want?
Yeah, I do.
I always ask them
Yeah.
what they want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do
Yeah.
you want now? What do you want now?
Or
Yep.
what do you want me to know? What do you want me to know?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it comes up as license plates now, like all the time, and I think that's why,
Wow.
because I'm driving, and it's just constant all the time. I mean, it's very comforting, but like my grandfather said, slow down.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Slow down. Slow
Yeah,
down.
but
Yeah.
take a look at working with somebody to help you with that. And I don't mean help you with it,
Okay.
but you can learn some skills to work with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
No
you.
question about it. You bet. Wow, thank you. That's a happy story. I'm very happy.
That is. So I know we have
Yeah,
other
I've been
callers.
wanting to talk to him. So, okay, thank
Okay.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you so
very
much, Teresa. I'm
Teresa.
sorry, I didn't realize she was still on the line.
Yeah.
Dr. Pat, what do you say we keep going?
Yes, do it. Nat, who do we have next?
Next we have Denise, also from New Jersey.
Oh,
You're on the line, Denise.
Hot night in New Jersey
Here I
tonight,
am.
New Jersey, New York. Hi, Denise. How are you?
Hi, very good. How are you?
Good. So I believe you are going to want to talk to Mark. If you have your computer or sound on, just turn that down in the background.
Great. I just did that. I couldn't remember what else I was supposed to do, so I turned off the speakers.
We don't have a lot of instructions. The only thing that we ask is while Mark's really connecting with your loved ones, you just hold on and kind of just sit there and just be a little bit quiet until he gives you a message or asks you a question. That's it. We don't have a lot of rules here. But Mark,
Okay, through the phone though. Through the phone, right? Yeah.
Through the
Yes,
phone
through the
only.
phone.
Turn off all speakers
Yeah.
in the background because it creates
yeah,
feedback.
I know you're
Yeah.
trying to watch the Game of Thrones and talk to us at the same time, but that's okay. I'm only joking.
It's all right. I got it.
Okay, Denise, what can I do for you?
Well, I am just buzzing in. I'm getting into the midst of Christmas, and I've been finding strange little messages all around. I actually found a card from my late husband, and it came out of nowhere. It doesn't have a date on it, but it's Christmas, and me and him always did a lot of good things with the kids for Christmas, and I keep talking to him and asking some kind of help because I do have a son and a daughter that still are not talking.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I'm picking up on your mother as opposed to your husband coming through. And she said, this is time for a mom's advice. And she said, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't alter course. And she said that, like, keep the door open for your kids, send them messages of love, tell them they're always welcome and that you love them. Okay. She said that they have to realize, and it's interesting because earlier when Dr. Pat and I were talking about time, she said they need to realize that they don't have time. And by saying that, Denise, I'm not saying anyone's going to die anytime soon. What I'm saying is now is the time. Now is the time. And they have to realize that. And so always have an open door policy. Always have an open door policy. Tell them they are welcome. They are welcome. Always welcome. They say not only in your home, but in your heart. And she said that eventually they're going to get the memo. Now, I get a male energy stepping forward, and he died very abruptly, very suddenly. I feel like I'm going into cardiopulmonary failure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. This feels like your husband, and he keeps talking about the jackrabbit, the jackrabbit. Now, there could be a J name, a Jim, Jack, Jeff, John, but I'm actually seeing an image of a jackrabbit. If I say a jackrabbit, don't worry about how it applies to your husband in spirit or to your mom. What does a jackrabbit evoke in your consciousness? What immediately comes to you? You're thinking, you got to go with what you feel. Don't think, feel.
Jackrabbit. Well, the J would be for my daughter's name, but a jackrabbit is something that jumps and quicks. It moves quickly and jumps abruptly. But
Okay.
I don't know what.
All right, hold on. You're on to that's where I was going with this. Jumps quickly, okay. Dr. Pat, you're smiling. I know you have an interpretation for this one. So I'm going to hand the ball now to Dr. Pat.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you really quickly. You started out by talking about the fact that your son and daughter are still not speaking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. They're not speaking to you, or they're not speaking to each other?
Oh, they're not speaking to each other.
Okay. But they do
For
speak to
5
you.
years now. Well, my daughter speaks to me all the time. My son, you know, it's hard. He's not a talkative person, and I have to just be patient and wait for him to make the first move. I can't do it.
Yeah. Why is that? So I'll tell you what the rabbit stands for. A rabbit in
Okay.
different indigenous cultures represents fear. Fear. That's, I mean, it has a bunch of other things, but I'm telling you, like, Google it. Fear.
Okay.
And so, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of talking to your son and saying something wrong? Because that, look, I don't know
Yes.
as a mom.
That is it. Big. That is it.
Bing.
Big.
I got it. The
Because
bing. Did I get the bing to the bong?
I
To the
do
bing
not
to the
want to
bam?
lose him.
You don't want to
Yeah,
lose
I
him,
don't
so you're
want to lose
afraid.
him.
That's right. And
Yeah.
you're afraid. And so what is a mom to do when you got the daughter over here and the son not talking, but you're too afraid to be the mom?
Exactly. He doesn't listen to me. He only listened to his father.
We all have
And
that
his father
story.
stepped out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his father stepped out. He feels like me and my daughter have each other, but he lost his father and he has no one. So he holds on to his wife, who comes in between us, the three of us.
Yeah,
And
that's a good story.
He's
That's
been
a good
separated from
story.
his own family. He's with
Yeah,
her and her family, and I get it. He loves her. He loves his children. He's a good dad. He's a good father. But I lost him as a son.
Yeah, you ever think about saying that to him?
I try.
I mean,
I
I'm
always
just-
think when I'm driving up, I go up there and he says something, and I'm afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing and screw everything up, and then I won't even get to see my grandchildren.
But think about what you're talking about now. You're talking about, I can't be who I am. I raised my children, and I am so afraid of saying something. I'm not going to give you any advice on this because it's much more complicated, but I'm going to say this to you. I was in a very similar situation, and I really pondered over this. And then I came to the conclusion, if I say what I have to say to you, because I really love you dearly, I see what's happening, I am hurt by the separation, and I say that in compassion, and my son, daughter, or whoever I was talking to kicks me out, there ain't nothing you're going to be able to do to repair that, because it isn't about you. You understand?
Yeah.
It's not about you. But love heals. And if you lead with love and not shame and not blame, that's where you want to start. You want to be able to say, listen, Tommy, pick up the phone. I love you. I miss you. What can we do to bring our family back? What can we do that doesn't blame each other? What can we do? What can I do? What are the baby steps?
You know, Dr. Pat, I want to say that is excellent advice because if Denise, if you call your son and ask him instead of you saying you do this, I love what see Dr. Pat
That
is
ain't
like the
gonna
best
work.
psychologist ever. Ask him what's the solution here.
What's the
Let him,
solution?
yeah, let him vent, let him complain, let him get all that out. Don't argue with him, Dr. Pat. Keep going. That was great.
And you just, so you got to really hold back because you're angry. This is about love. You want to be able to say, to listen to him. And, you know, Tommy, I'm calling him Tommy. But Tommy is going to unload. And you want to listen. You want to listen. And that doesn't mean you apologize, but you want to listen and you want to be able to say to him, you know, Tommy, it sounds like this was really hard for you, as it was for me, but it sounds like it was equally hard for you. You may not patch it up, but when you hang up the phone or you walk out of that house, your last words are, Tommy, I love you. I will always love you. I hope you don't move farther away from me emotionally. And you walk out of the house and you go home.
Sounds
Because
like
if
a
you
plan.
don't,
I'm
but if you
actually
don't
going to
take
go
that
see him on
approach,
Sunday.
I'm just telling you, if you don't take that approach, and you don't do this in front of people, if you don't take that approach, you're going to build up more anger, more resentment. You're going to blurt something out you don't want to. So your mantra when you go see him Sunday is, Tommy, I love you. I missed you. You got that? Tommy, I loved you. I don't know
Okay.
what his name is, but Tommy, I love you. I missed you. I'm so glad to see
Mm-hmm.
you. See the difference in that energy?
Yes. Yes.
I had to do an amends for someone that I hurt big time. See, when you're an addict and alcoholic, you do strange, I'm not going to cuss, but you do strange, you know what, to people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You really do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
A-hole is an understatement of the way people feel about you. But when you get to the point where you're clean and slow, sober, and you could look at your life, you bend the knee to the people you love and you listen to them on what it is that is heavy for them, and you hope and you pray to the God of your understanding that they will forgive you and let you in their life again. But outside of that, you can't control them, and there's nothing you can do about it. And boy, I had to fight my way back into this person's life, and I worked hard at it. I messed up, but it paid off. And that's what I'm saying to you. Slow and steady wins the race. That's the rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you good to go.
I am good to go. I'm going to see them on Sunday.
Zip that
so we
lip.
shall see.
Zip. No, there's no seeing.
I have to bite my lip. Pat, I
You
got to
gotta
bite my
put
lip
the,
sometimes.
listen to me. I work with clients, and I got to tell you,
Mhm.
when I have a client like this that just is so on the edge, I make them put a wristband of duct tape on. I make them go to the thing with duct tape on their wrist. Ask me why.
Why?
Think about it. How hideous
Well, I've
and
heard of the elastic band thing where you hit yourself with the elastic band.
that doesn't work. You
No.
wear some of that silver duct tape on your wrist, and you will never forget that is to help you remember to put that tape on your mouth before you say something to hurt anybody and hurt yourself.
I get it now. Right.
right,
I was
so
thinking
get-
of Wonder Woman with her company.
Oh my God. And that is a crowd. I have to tell you, that duct tape thing, I had one of my clients do that a couple of years ago before the pandemic. And and he came back to me and he said, I can never go to another Christmas or holiday without my duct tape. I said, why? I said, are you that out of control? He said, no, you should hear the stories I made up about the duct tape. People were just, and I said to him, so it worked. You didn't cuss out your mom. You didn't beat the dog. You didn't look at your ex-wife who married your brother. I mean, this was a complicated, and everybody talked about the duct tape, so you became the star of the event.
All right. Well, I got to find the duct tape, but I am going to put it on.
He said, Pat, I'm going to send you a tip. And he did. He sent me the largest check I've ever gotten. So listen,
Wow.
take care. You know what to do. If you want to say something mean, just say I love you. Just say I love you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all. Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Denise.
calling in.
Thank you. You guys have a great holiday.
Yeah, I got to
Thank
get
you.
And
back
I
from
do
her
believe
about
in Santa.
All
Okay,
right.
good.
Dr. Pat,
Oh, my
I
God.
believe
Let's
we
go.
have another caller in the queue.
Yeah. Let's go. Nat, who do we have?
Yes, we have our next caller is Shirley from New York. Shirley, you are on.
Hello?
Hey,
Yes.
turn off your radio in the background, would you?
I did, yes.
Good job, Shirley. Oh my God, you know the ropes, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, you know the routine then. I'm sure you're going to want a message from Mark. Just let Mark finish, and then he'll ask you a couple of questions, and off you go. Okay? Where are
Okay.
you from in New York? Are you upstate or you in the city?
No, I am on Long Island, Suffolk County, to be exact.
Long Island. And I
In
bet
the
everything
country.
is in the country. Long Island. Do they consider Long Island the country? Okay, I got to think about that.
What?
Let me think about that. They consider Long Island the country, I guess, now. There is country part in Long Island,
Well,
right?
yeah, because it's a lot of farmland out here. Yeah, I'm not in the farmland though, but people tease me about it though.
Okay, bringing me back to my surfing days. Shirley, let me turn you over to Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Shirley, is there a younger male, could be on your generational level or the one below it, meaning on the child, niece, nephew level, that may have passed? And the reason I'm saying this, I'm getting a younger male. Now, let me define what I mean by younger. He looks like he could have been late teens, early 20s when he passed. And he doesn't necessarily have to be a relative. He could be somebody connected to you, could be a friend's son. But I'm getting a younger male that passed, and I'm getting this massive impact sensation to my head. Now, when I get an impact sensation to my head, that could mean traumatic passing, but that could also indicate an abrupt or unexpected passing with him. And I do taste blood. Now, by tasting blood, that doesn't necessarily mean a bleed out. That could be an internal hemorrhage or some issue with his blood. But my ears, I'm getting like this in my ears, which is indicating to me that something was going on, sending a surge of blood into his head, like massive high blood pressure, really, really quickly. And then I feel like I'm going into, when I say I mean he was going into rapid cardiopulmonary failure. So whatever happened with him, this hit him like a ton of bricks. Surge of blood pressure into his head, rapid heartbeat, and then it just cut out. Does any of this make sense to you?
No. No, but I wrote it down because I do have a friend that did lose a child.
Was it a son?
Yes.
Okay, how old was he and how did he die?
He was in his 20s, and they told her that he had COVID, but she doesn't believe it.
Okay. Well, the rapid blood pressure surge into the head, the cardiopulmonary failure, it could be COVID or it could be that long-term COVID. And was he kind of like a real athletic, outdoorsy, very active young man from your knowledge?
Yes, from what I believe, yes.
This is your friend's son. So I know you said no, but actually you said no, it's not somebody related to me. It's my friend's son.
Right.
So he is
Right.
coming through because his mother desperately needs a message from him. And he wants her to know that he does come to her. The dreams are real. So when she must have contact experiences from him in the dream state. He keeps reaching out to her and he keeps saying, Holly, Holly, Holly. Now, once again, Holly, this time of year, Holly could be a person connected to you or him, could be a Holly, could be a Molly. And he keeps showing me the number 11. Now, that could be the 11th of any month. It could be the 11th month, which is November, but he keeps transmitting to me 11, 11, 11. Does the number 11 mean anything to you? Don't worry about the spirit. Anything to you in any way?
The 11th?
All right, could be the 11th month, November. Go ahead, Dr. Pat. I'm going to turn it over to you because we're running out of time.
No.
11,
No.
my birthday, but 11 is the spiritual number. And there's something about the number 11. 11 is picked a lot for athletes. You see it everywhere. I wonder if you were to check on this, whether or not this boy may have been an athlete and chose that number 11. But 11 often is related to sports. Like I was number 11 for 20 years playing softball. So it is that number. It's also a spiritually high number. And so the message Mark gave you is a gift for you to give that gift to your friend. That's also a combination of 1 and 1. You know, it's a 1 and 1 gift. Do you understand? That's why you called in, because you are to deliver a gift. If it's safe, you don't want to deliver a gift to somebody that can't handle the message. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. So you're going to have to use some discernment here.
Yes, I know.
Okay. All right. Got it?
And real quick, Dr. Pat is 100% right on. And Shirley, I know that you were looking for a message from your loved ones in spirit, but the other side
Yes.
wants you to be the messenger
Sure.
this time.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay,
a very
I understand
important
that.
That's
message.
Mercury in retrograde. See, this is a perfect example of Mercury in retrograde, just to show you. Mercury is such an interesting trickster, rules our planet, by the way. Mercury rules the network. And so it's fascinating how Mercury would have you show up because Mercury is going in backwards so that you could help somebody else. But all I'm trying to say to you is you have to make sure that this person is open to receiving message. You know, you have to be, what's the right word, Mark?
I have to tread lightly with her. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that
There we
they're
go.
open to spirit contact, a message from a medium.
Yeah.
So don't, pick up the phone and call her right away.
Yeah.
You may want to say,
No,
I call
no.
into this show and there's a medium on there. And what do you think? What do you
Right.
think about stuff like that? And she goes, oh, it's against God, blah, 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 blah. Don't get into an argument and all that. You back off. And
Right,
she says,
right.
well, I'm open to that because that's when you deliver the message.
Yeah.
So this
Right.
is a very important because here's the thing. Your folks in spirit know that you get it, but this time around,
Yes.
you're the messenger. You're the vessel of healing.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you so much. And for those of you
Okay.
we didn't get to, we will catch up with you on the downside. Mark, before we go, please get everybody up to date about what you're doing. We didn't do that at the top.
Certainly. And we're going to be back next week. So all the callers on the line that didn't get a reading or to get to talk to Dr. Pat this week, call in next week.
Yeah.
I invite
Jaquetta.
Jaquetta, and I know we have others as well.
Yeah.
Please visit my website, which is afterlifefrequency.com. Just like my latest book, Afterlife Frequency. Sign up for my newsletter. You can find out about my books, which are the ideal holiday gift for somebody facing the holidays and life without a loved one. Sign up for my newsletter, and you can tune into the Psychic and the Doc, find out about signing up for a reading, and you can do all of that by visiting afterlifefrequency.com. And Dr. Pat and I will be back next week. We're going to be here for all of you during the holidays.
Wow. Thank you all. I want to thank all of you for tuning us in, turning us on. For me, go to unstuckable.com. You're going to see the classes, the coaching, all of that. And I want to thank my fabulous trademark legal person for making that trademark.
Right on point. Yes, everyone, please visit unstuckable.com. Dr. Pat will get you unstuck from all of life's difficulties and the quagmires we find ourselves in. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I'm Mark Anthony, JD Psychic Explorer, here with Dr. Pat. This is the Psychic and the Doc, and we will see you next week. Many blessings.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning into the Psychic and the Doc with Mark Anthony and me, Dr. Pat Baccili, right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Hey, look, come back next week so we can explore with you more of life's many challenges and learn from fascinating guests. And you know what? Even Mark and me. We'll connect you and discover insights from people in this life and from the afterlife. Extraordinary problems? Yeah, they do. They require extraordinary solutions. But step into the world of possibilities with us on the Psychic and the Doc. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. That's TransformationTalkRadio.com. And don't forget, we're also live face-to-face on Facebook.com, Transformation Talk Radio.